What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I wanted to have a quick conversation on Stellar Blade. You know, it's interesting. I was noticing a very similar, kind of like natural occurrence that I saw other people start to talk about on Twitter, and I thought, well, you know what? I have YouTube. I can expand this and use, like, actual words and my voice to express what I'm thinking. So, okay, the Game Awards, does all the awards, right? And, people put, I think, more stock into it. Some people put more stock into it than others, all that jazz. And I think what we've really started to see now, I do think it's because of a certain like culture, anti-culture, like woke, anti-woke kind of thing. It's a lot of them, I will say, okay? But you've had a lot of people just in general really make seemingly Stellar Blade not being nominated too much, and also the idea that, and I mean, I've said it before too, like I really don't think Stellar Blade's going to win almost anything. In fact, I think my official prediction was I think Stellar Blade is probably going to be the biggest snub at the Game Awards and probably not win anything. That's kind of like Hogwarts Legacy a few years ago. That's just kind of what I'm thinking based off of what the game journalists would say. And it's interesting because all of that stuff I really think has started this movement of people saying, well, hey, look at Stellar Blade. Pay attention to Stellar Blade, Stellar Blade, Stellar Blade. And all of these things that they're posting on social media, see, again, I think they're making it more about like the woke, anti-woke stuff. And it's more of like Eve. It's more of her looks. It's more of, all of the outfits that she wears. And look, I mean, I'm going to say it again. It's really like we're going back in time, right? That's why this video is a reminder. Let me remind you that this game is actually legitimately good. I feel like we kind of forgot that. I really do. I think this year has done something to us. Maybe it's done a lot of things to a lot of people, but, ever since Stellar Blade comes out, right, you have the lead up to it. And it's a lot about the, physical appearance of these characters, okay? The game comes out, and in my opinion, the game is just a freaking rock-solid, awesome game. This is a top, I want to say top 10, but I'm not 100% sure. There was a lot of good games towards the very end of the year that might knock it down for me, personally. But this is probably like a top 15 game for me this entire year. I really think Stellar Blade is a really great game. I think it's going to be a game that I remember 2024 by, right? When you think of the great games of this year, Stellar Blade is going to be one of them. And I think we were all kind of on the same page when the game came out. Again, it gets weird. Leading into it, it was literally this. Like, this is the conversation. We're having the same conversation. Again, leading in, it's, well, I don't think the looks of these characters is going to be enough to sell the game. And to be honest with you, I really, and maybe this is not a popular opinion, I really don't think it did. I think, like, it probably helped a certain, like, category of people, and that's fine. Like, if you wanted this game to make a point that you can have, like, highly, like, sexualized characters, that's totally, and you know what? From what, like, the director was talking about, remember back then when he was having all those, like, hot quotes with, hey, I want a character that looks good. I want to play as a character that looks really, really nice, and you're staring at her this entire time, so I want to make sure she looks good. That's great. I have nothing against that, and I can see why, if that's a part of why you want to support Stellar Blade, that's totally cool. But then the game comes out, and again, even leading into the game, it's like, well, okay, those are things to talk about, but I don't know if they're the most important thing. See, I really believe it really boils down to this, right? Same thing with like the woke, anti-woke stuff. Like, a game is going to be good or bad, right? It's either going to be a good game or not, and then the rest of it will kind of help or hurt it, right? So like the looks of Eve and the looks of these characters, it might help the game. It will never make the game, at least not to me, myself personally. The game itself will make the game. If I am bored to tears, if I'm not enjoying myself, it doesn't really matter how good it looks. I mean, you can even say that with graphics, like visually, right? You can have the best freaking looking game of all time, right? Just pick a game. Pick a game that looks just spectacular. Okay, we'll strip everything else away from it. Yeah, it's pretty to look at, and you can look at it for a bit, but is it worth a purchase? And then are you really going to sit there for 10, 20, 30 hours just because of the visuals? If the gameplay is bad, if the story is bad, if the character is bad, if the writing is bad, you're just going to sit there just because it looks good? The answer is no. Okay, let me answer for you. The answer, in my opinion at least, the answer is no. And I think it really, that stretches to this conversation too. That stretches to, yeah, she can be attractive, and that's totally cool, and you can have that kind of argument to the side, I believe, but that's not going to make or break the game. Well, again, we've talked about this. This was back in April. This was back in March. The game came out, and the game actually, I think, proved a lot of people right, including myself, because I said the main thing we should be focusing on is the gameplay. The gameplay in this game looks really good, and in my opinion, this is one of the better gameplay type games of the entire year. I like it more than Black Myth. I like the entire game actually more than Black Myth, not by much. It's very, very close to me. me, I really like Black Myth Wukong as well, but I really love how this game feels. I really love the moves. I like the challenge. I like the kind of the balance of the challenge because I actually did beat this game and I felt really good about myself, as I went through. I really enjoyed the game, but again, in terms of like saying the same thing over, I did a review of this game and I actually, sung its praises as well. It has some issues, by the way, but it's not that big of a deal. The game works because the game's actually good. So now fast forward to now, right? I mean, I've really said most of what I want to say, so I'll kind of wrap it up here. We're having the conversation again. And again, I really think it's because of the Game Awards. I think it's because, it's focusing on this game versus that game, and there's a narrative there. There can be. I'm not saying like there's no narratives that are involved with game journalists picking. I said before, like Star Wars Outlaws has no place, I think, getting nominated for anything, right? Like I'm not going after the actress. She seems sweet. I think she did a good job, right, as Kay Vess. She should not be there in terms of nominations for the performance. But you know what? Again, that's my opinion. That's when I do mine, my Game Awards, she's not going to be there, and that's cool. She can be there for this. But that's actually kind of the point, right? Because I think people take it very seriously. And while I could disagree on, hey, I don't think this game really would deserve that, well, that's my opinion. This is like a board of like 200 journalists, right? But the thing is, that kind of seeps its way back, and what you're seeing online now is, the game with the attractive girl didn't make it. Well, and then you have people kind of attacking each other and saying, well, if the game is only about her looks, of course it's not going to make the Game Awards, right? You're kind of having like any which side, jump in, and you have some people that are kind of anti the game and saying, well, why would it? All you do is focus on the looks of the game. That doesn't deserve an award. And you're right. Like, those people are right, but they're also wrong because, like, when you focus only on the looks, yes, that has nothing to do with the Game Awards. There's no category, for that. Maybe like art, things like that, which they don't really do in the Game Awards specifically, right? But, there is, I guess, that. But beyond that, they're right because, yeah, if you just focus on the sexuality, there's nothing really that's going to, like, that's not enough to elevate it into any of these awards. Well, the other part of that, though, that part they're right. The part that they're wrong on is that's not the game. That's not, at least it's not the full game, right? And so we're right back, kinda. And I actually think it makes people more stupid. I'll go a little controversial in this video. I really think that makes people seem a little stupid because it's okay. When you were leading into the game, you could say these things because you don't actually have the game as backup, right? Like, you don't know how the gameplay is going to be. You don't know about the world and the bosses and things like that. But when the game is out, and you can actually play the game, you can't really say that anymore. You can have your opinion versus mine, but you can't really say, like, you can't say factually untrue things. Like, the game does have more than just their looks, and I think it always did. I think it's always something that I kind of push, leading into the game. But the game is like actually out. Like, you can download. I don't know if you know this. You can download it. You can buy it. You can play it for yourself. And I guarantee you, when you play it, you're gonna realize there's more to the game than just the looks. And I think that's a very safe way of saying it, right? Like, you can get, I mean, I did get controversial and we have gone back and forth, but like, of all of this talk, the most boiled down way of saying it is, for anybody that thinks it's just about the looks, play the game. Like, literally just play it. Turn it on. I know that's maybe hard for some people. Turn the game on and then play it, and you tell me if the game is more than her looks. Because I'll tell you, my opinion is it is. It's way more than just how she looks. Again, that's a part of it, and that's an angle, and that's a narrative that people are still talking about. But for some reason, it's become the main narrative again, and I really thought we beat this. We beat the allegations, right? I thought we really defeated it because the game was out, and it's like, oh yeah, the game was actually really good. Now, maybe some people didn't like it as much as others, but maybe solid? Can you say like a 6 out of 10, a 7 out of 10? I don't give scores. I think the game is really good. That's my, or great. That's my metric. But it's probably, an 8, 8.5, if I were to give it a score, or, play in the gaming journalist, sandbox. I think it's a really great game, so I don't know why we're back here. I really don't get why we're back to, well, the game is only about her looks. It had nothing else going for it. Of course, it didn't make any awards. Or then you have people saying, well, how can you, the game sold so well and look how it pushed, the body, kind of positivity or whatever you want to say. Look how it pushed her looks. And they're mad. The journalists are mad that it did that, so they didn't nominate it. I mean, maybe that's true. Like, that part could be true. That part could stop it from winning awards. That part could be true for sure. But I think, again, they're kind of coming, even if you say that, I still think you're kind of coming at it from the wrong angle because it's like, well, I mean, the looks are a part of it, but why don't we talk about it being nominated because of other parts to of the game, right? Like, it's not going to get nominated because of her looks. It'll get nominated for other things. You can argue about those things for sure, but, you know, it's saying, well, her looks held it back or whatever. I don't know. I don't know why we're back in this spot. I'll just say that part again. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.